Hello, and welcome to this week's Q&A with me, your host, Mod Husky. Joining me today, I have the always enthusiastic Mod Flippy.
Hello.
And we have three very special guests today. We have a cold one.
Hi there.
Synq.
What's up?
And Zulu.
Hello.
Hopefully you know all these guys, content creators for the old school community. As well as Mod Spear behind the scenes and Mod Sarni in the chat to grab any chat questions. With less than a week until Leagues 2 Trailblazer kicks off, which is still a bit surreal to me, to be honest, that it's that close. But we thought we'd do something a little bit different now that, well, we have the capacity, I think, to do more live streams now. We don't need to book a studio. We can do them more freely from home. So we thought we'd do something a little bit different and just sort of have a nice sort of theory crafting stream, maybe explore what some of the content creators here are going to do, and to sort of just maybe answer any last questions you guys have before the league kicks off in a week's time. And just so you guys know, we'll be dropping all of the relics and tasks through the wiki about 2 hours or so before the league hits next week. The plan roughly is about 10 o'clock BST is when you'll see the game update timer with the blog, and that'll have the relics and tasks. The game worlds will be taken offline at 10:30, which will be boot back up. The league won't start for about another hour or so after that. We want to do some last-minute sort of testing just to make sure the whole transfer and resetting accounts happens just as we think it's going to go. And then the league should be up and running sometime between, well, we'll just say around about 12 o'clock EST. And if we get it up earlier, we get it up slightly earlier. We'll keep you guys posted on the day. But before all that, before we get into our theory crafting, let's go through the announcements. You can type !Halloween. Halloween has finally come to Gielinor for 2020 with our newest update. You can head on over to Rick in the woods of Draenor to start this spooky side story. Again, !Halloween to read all about the event and any other changes that happened in yesterday's update. !Twisted will bring you to our newest blog, which tells you all about a new quest, which is the first in a series of short standalone quests in Korand and Kebos. Use !Twisted to find out more info. !Prime, our newest Prime gaming collaboration, is here with an exclusive Last Man Standing event in which 24 of the toughest players will battle out for glory. Try and win as many games of LMS before November 10th to have a chance of competing in the grand finale. Use !Prime to get more information on that. And lastly, !Leagues to make sure that you have all the latest information about Leagues 2 Trailblazer and its regions, to read more about what each area has and what you can unlock. If you have anything else you'd like to ask Mod Flippy, myself, or our guests, then at OldSchoolRS with your questions. Okay, that's the boring stuff that was pre-written for me out the way. How is
You
everybody
always
doing
debated
today?
the chat there. You were like, we'll be releasing all the relics and all the tasks in 2 hours before the league starts.
League's Discord's gonna hate me for that. But yeah, starting with Mod Flippy, how are you today?
Good, thanks. Good. I think I'm equally nervous and excited for launch, but good.
Cool. How about you, Cold One?
Oh, wonderful. Woke up at 6 in the morning like the boomer that I am today, and feel pretty good. Feeling very healthy. Hopefully the same as well for you guys.
Yeah. What about you, Synq?
I'm doing alright. I'm a bit nervous for some reason. It seems like before the stream started, 50% of the messages were about my omelet that I don't have.
Which one?
Other than that, I'm doing pretty well.
Good. And last but not least, Zulu, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Woke up like a little over an hour ago. I'm having like league dreams at this point. I'm just excited for it.
Nice. It started already. Cool. Well, before we get on to some cool graphics we have, which kind of you guys have provided with roughly what your strategies are going to be for Trailblazer, we have a kind of special announcement in that by the end of this stream, we're going to have revealed one of the Trailblazer relics voted on by you, the community. So looking at the sprites, are we ready with the images, Spear? See if you typed. That's okay. We'll let you vote firstly on the tier of the relic you want us to reveal, and then once we know which tier, we'll put it down to which of the three. For reasons, you're not going to be allowed to vote on tier 3. We'd like to keep that a surprise, and I know that Foe is going to, be theory crafting all sorts, but based on that statement, as he normally does. So, yep. Cool. So first of all, looking at the tier 2 relics, we've got some nice high definition sprites, courtesy of Mod West and put together by Mod Sarni. So some of these have been out on Twitter already. The one on the left, number 1, and I think the other two. I think the last one, the third one has, but the second one hasn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some cool looking sprites there. Wonder what effect they can have. Maybe there's a few more hints now that they're higher detail than the tiny ones that were on the relic interface. Whenever you're ready, moving on to 4. Cool. So now we have tier 4. Let you guys have a good look at those. Maybe get some guesses. Are we ready with tier 5 yet? Cool. Tier 5. I should have talked about what they were. So tier 2 was all about teleportation. Tier 4 was all about utility. At tier 5 now, you're looking at a bunch of skilling relics. And then, that's okay. I'll give you guys a bit longer to guess about it. We're just getting number 6 ready. That's okay. It was a last-minute decision to do this, so you'll forgive us if we're a bit behind on getting these graphics ready. I could see some people already mentioning that the XP on the scales there. And then lastly, tier 6, which is all to do with combat. We're buffing combat at tier 3, and we do it again at tier 6, so there's a few more relic sprites there. So, Mod Sarni, if you can hear me, if you can get a straw poll in the chat with the options for tier 2, tier 4, tier 5, or tier 6. And we'll review that coming up and then let you vote on the specific one. Be interesting to see what the chat picks.
Do you guys feel like you have like a sort of good idea of what the relics might be at this point, or do you feel clueless?
Yes and no.
I'm pretty clueless myself, honestly. Like, the images can mean anything. I've seen a lot of guesses on Twitter, but I honestly have no clue. Tier 6 relics look really interesting, though.
I think I have a good idea for everything except for the teleportation ones. And I think I've just figured out what the tier 4 relic 3 is because of the sprite being shown now.
I think it's interesting, right? Because we, Flippy and myself, worked very closely with Mod West on these, and it came down to coming up with the sprites. We obviously had the effect. We think of a cool sounding name for what the relic could be, and in some cases the sprite is more derived from the effect, and in some cases it's more derived from the name that we gave it, right? So it's kind of a cool combination of the two. So I think some you might get more closely than others, but I think you'll be surprised. A lot of the relics this time round put a lot of the Twisted League relics to shame in terms of what they do. Yeah. So, very, very happy with how they've turned out.
I feel like a lot of these are like instantly more fun than the Twisted League ones. Like some of the, especially like in Tier 1 in Twisted League, you'd find if you pick the ammo saving one, you'd have to wait a long time to really start enjoying that relic, but a lot of these are like, you know, you unlock it and you can start using it from there, kind of, which is nice.
So we'll leave that poll running for a while, and then we'll come back and ask you which tier you want to look at afterwards, if that's okay. Going on to some of the League's 2 plans, we have some nice graphics. I believe Mod Sarni reached out to all of you and asked you guys what areas you're going to unlock and what your starting relics would be. So let's have a look at what a cold one submitted to us, which I'm sure you might change before the day of release once you see the relics and stuff. But based on the information you have so far, do you want to talk us through what you're planning here?
All right. Only thing I want to get out of Trailblazers is trying to maintain Dragon rank and racing against a buddy of mine, Kriskies, some of you might know, to being the first to solo Theater of Blood in the league. That's essentially it, and I think these are the 3 regions, from what I know right now, would be the best to accomplish that. Naturally, Morytania, because you can't do the content without it. Desert for Ancients, and Darts. And as of right now, it was going to be Kandarin until you took Piety away from us. So I kind of went with Terrain Wind for the 3rd, and that's definitely going to change when I see the Relics.
Why do you pick Morytania first? I'm curious of.
I'm more so going for combat early on. And that was a mistake I made last time, where I didn't do any combat until day 3. And Morytania gives you the Slayer Tower from all the tasks you get unlocked from there. You've got Aberrant Spectres, you've got Money Cement Bats. What else is in there? You have Abyssal Demons, but you already have those. You have Necrals as well, which you don't get any of those 3 until you unlock that region or some other region.
You got Slayer Helm as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That's good too.
Yeah. And even with if you get to tier 3 relics, even just a double drop rate, not even waiting for triple, would make a significant impact on a lot of the uniques you might want to get there as well. You know, whether it's a whip or Barrow's armor, if that was on your list to get, you know.
Yeah, they both are.
And what about Skilling Prodigy? Why have you decided to go for this relic over the other 2?
Works out into what I want to do for the early game and how I just get out of the early game faster, and then I can get an Abyssal Whip at 73 Slayer, which is it's a bit nicer than grinding all the way to 85 for it.
Oh yeah, it's a huge amount of XP difference. I think it's like about 1 million XP compared to about 3.25 off the top of my head. So it's a substantial time save there.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, we'll see who comes first between yourself and Kriskies, and it'll be interesting to see how this changes as the relics go on. Moving on to the image that has been put together for Synq. We have again. It's already here. Cool, awesome. So you want to talk through what your plan is?
Well, piggybacking off what a cold one said, I definitely want to go with Skilling Prodigy. I figure early on when I'm completing tasks, the more tasks that I can complete with Skilling Prodigy and the skills that I have, I'll get out of the early game as fast as I can, because who really likes early game, I guess. I plan to unlock Kandarin, Morytania, and Asgarnia. I'm unsure if Morytania or Asgarnia will come first, but I do want to unlock Kandarin first because I feel like there's a ton in that region. And if there's a ton more in that region, I feel like I can get a lot more tasks done, which means I can unlock the other regions sooner. My only goals are mainly TOB and Nightmare. I might try to do solos, but I'm not going to rush it like a cold one and Kriskies. And it depends on if I can get enough sweets, that's for sure. The Inferno is something that I was thinking about, but I haven't done the Inferno in like over a year because I've been stuck at raids. And I think that depending on the relics, I might do the Inferno. I think that I heard from a lot of you guys that Duo TOB and Trio TOB is a lot easier on this league than it was the last league. So I'm getting the idea that these relics are going to be extremely powerful. So depending on the relics, I might switch out Asgarnia with maybe Desert or maybe Tiranwin. I'm not sure yet. But if they're really powerful, I could probably do the Inferno as well. And those are my plans.
Nice. Yeah, I can definitely confirm that TOB is, I think easier is always hard to quantify. I've had people ask me, can I do it with no experience? And the truth is that you probably still need to learn the mechanics, right? You're not just going to click the boss and win. But yeah, for reference for those in chat, Mod, Arcane, Elena, and myself did some Trio TOB testing, and we beat the current world record in the main game in Trios by about 6 seconds within 10 attempts, and not even doing some of the big time-saving strategies that the people at that level of skill can do. So it's absolutely going to be easier in a sense that it's going to be pretty insane how quickly people are going to get through them.
We said they were powerful?
We said they were powerful, yeah. And lastly, move on to Zulu's image, who looks like, again, to have picked Skilling Prodigy. I think you all seem to be on that sort of boat right now. But yeah, if you could walk us through what you're generally thinking for your strategy.
So pretty much the same areas and relic as Synq, except different order. I'm definitely doing as Garnia second. Kandarin first is just really good for a lot of quests and just like general content, like getting that early Dragon Sim. I'm gonna be playing like 2 accounts, but this is like the main one. And the goal is just to get like the best gear I can and to have like a lot of fun. Try to get points, try to stay Dragon on at least one account. And yeah, I don't know, just a lot of stuff that's going to be interesting with relics. I think the Inferno without Ancients will be interesting, just because relics will make it probably pretty doable, I would assume. Just looking forward to doing all the different content.
Yeah, I think for sure the exciting part of leagues is, and it was the same with Deadman, right? Is this start over, fresh account, but with a new twist and new goals, right? You know, you're going to be doing content that you maybe haven't done in a while in a different way, and a way you'll probably never get to do again. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think just looking at it, it's very interesting that all 3 of you picked Morytania, presumably for Theatre of Blood. And I think as well that Synq and Zulu, you guys picked the exact same areas, but just with a slightly different unlock order. So cool. It'll definitely be interesting to see how this changes as it progresses. You know. Someone looking back at this in the VOD and coming into your stream and saying, hey, why didn't you pick Asgarnia Zulu like you said you would, or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're basing this, I think it was Zulu said you were basing this on, or maybe it was Synq, on the fact that Kandarin would have a lot of tasks. Do you think
kinda, yeah. So I heard you guys saying that like each region is kind of balanced between tasks and stuff, but I feel like because Kandarin offers more, I can have more skills, for example, and more things to unlock because of those skills.
Right. Okay.
Or more tasks to complete, rather. That's how I see it.
Nice.
I think Desert will probably be the best for tasks, just because there's like the least amount of content there.
So yeah, I could talk a little bit about that. I think that's an interesting discussion, right? Because you guys are right in that there's a whole big bucket of tasks that everybody has access to, whether they're just general tasks or whether they're Misthalin or Karamja tasks, right? And the things that will separate your account to make it different are the tasks that you'll be able to do assigned to your areas. And that's obviously put a lot of difficulty on us as developers with what tasks do we have for which areas. We're fairly happy in that all areas are about the same with a 10% difference, with one notable exception, which is the desert, which has a bit less than that. And we've been talking about this a lot and just sort of saying, honestly, it's really hard to force points into an area. If you force points in, it becomes a really high points per hour area. And there just wasn't as much content in the desert to assign those tasks to. But if you think of anything you can do in an area, there's probably a task for it, right? And we just had the challenge of maybe shift something from medium to hard or hard to medium or vice versa, right? And that sort of thing to try and keep the balance right in terms of points. So there probably is going to be some sort of mathematical favorite or like best areas, but the beauty of leagues is no one's going to know until after it's done, right?
Yeah. I have a question for everyone. So I've seen like MMO. He's been talking a lot about like having this sort of attitude of winging things on the go, or like coming up with things on the go, kind of just going into the league and winging a strategy based on the relics and tasks. Then Woox, on the other hand, has created a GitHub filled with like step-to-step guides and like a lot of stats and stuff that maybe you've seen already. Where would you put yourself on a scale between like MMO and Woox in terms of how much you've prepared or planned?
For myself, I haven't really done much planning, if I'm gonna be honest. I did a lot of that planning in Twisted Leagues, and I played that pretty much throughout the entire thing. So I think for this league, what I'm doing is, I'm not sure if I'll get Dragon Trophy. I do want to PVM as much as I can for the first month.
Cool.
I already forgot my train of thought.
That's okay. I think the straw poll's done. It was very close for a while, and Tier 5 seemed to have edged out a win, and then it suddenly got a huge amount of votes. So I think we're still going to go for a Tier 5 win anyway, because it was just a few votes ahead of Tier 6. But yeah, So here are your tier 5 relics. Modsarni, if you could start another straw poll for like maybe put 1 potion, 2 tools, and 3 scales or something like that, just so people know exactly which one they're voting on. But we're going to be revealing one of these relic descriptions towards the end of the stream. We'll have a bit more talk about theory crafting and stuff. We'll just let that poll get set up. Anyway, one of the questions I thought was really interesting is how have you guys been approaching the idea between either unlocking areas quickly or unlocking tasks quickly? Because obviously you don't have the task now, but is there a preference you guys would lean towards? Because if you want to go for your quicker relics, you're probably going to want to look for those maybe slightly in closer reach medium/hard tasks to get to the point threshold quicker. And if you're wanting to unlock areas, you're probably going to want to go around and do a bunch of easy tasks. And I just wonder where you guys sit on that sort of line.
I think for me, it's going to be, I want to definitely unlock Kandra and Asgarnia as soon as I can, just to get both unlocks because they synergize really well. There's like a lot of different quests that need both. There's a lot of different things you can do with both of those. And then after that, it's probably going to be a point focus. So just tasks after that, like high point tasks.
I agree with what Zulu was saying. Like, if you can get the regions unlocked sooner, you'd be able to do other tasks sooner and get other gear sooner. So you have a more wider range of doing everything, then you can just go back and do the other tasks. So, piggybacking off of Zulu, I think it's better to try to get the regions unlocked first.
With mine, I think I'm just going to unlock 1 region Morytania first, and then just try and spam out as many tasks as I can to unlock relics faster. So with that, you get passive multipliers to experience overall, and that'll let you complete harder tasks a bit faster overall. But I think I only need 1 region to get myself like a decent foundation set up.
Cool. I definitely agree that if you can unlock a region and start completing tasks where it's less crowded, that could be quite beneficial early on, right? Because there's going to be a lot of competition for resources around Lumbridge and Varrock for sure, and even to a lesser extent Kramja. One of the things, though, that I will put out there is that Flippy and I found quite surprisingly that the second tier of relics is quite close in reach, based on just like compared to Twisted League, and that does open up an 8 times multiplier really quickly. So I'll leave that with you guys, the community, to consider, because it might be worth just trying to get that 8 times multiplier before completing quests and stuff. That's what we figured out. It felt really good just waiting a bit longer to do that.
Yeah, it takes about like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and then you get 8 times instead of 5 times. It's pretty huge.
Yeah, and I even forgot about it when I was doing my initial plan. I was doing activities and I just suddenly noticed my XP jump up, and I was like, wait, what? What happened?
I think actually on the poll, tier 6 was winning before the tier 5 spiked super hard. I don't know if you confused the tiers or if...
No, I definitely saw tier 5 winning just. It like climbed a little bit ahead and then it spiked. It's super hard to...
Fair enough.
To verify, because I'm sure this is getting shared around all sorts of discords with people telling their friends to vote for what they want, right? But that's the nature of a straw poll. It's just a bit of fun anyway.
Absolutely.
Cool. Do you guys have any questions for us then, I suppose? We're talking about theory crafting. Is there anything you guys maybe want to ask us that would help your strategies, or that maybe you've seen your viewers ask?
Can the stream not hear Sarni?
I can't hear him. I've heard Spear talking.
You mean Spear?
Spear, sorry.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No idea.
Was that your question? Or...
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. I asked you this before. I asked you this before, and you said you guys would probably share it. I was curious on where the teleport locations for each region goes, like the interface that we get with each region unlock. Where do those teleports take us? And is there one for Misthalin?
Yes.
Sure.
There is.
Yeah, I can go through those. I'm just hopping in game now to remind myself so I don't miss an area. But yeah, so there's one in Misthalin, and it takes you just outside Lumbridge Castle. These teleports are unlimited. There's no cap on them. There's no cooldown. They're about the speed of a home teleport, and they're mostly just there to help you get to places you've unlocked conveniently, right? Because it would really suck if you unlocked Taranwin and realized you needed another area with a charter ship to get there, right? Or something else. So yeah, the one in Lumbridge is just outside the castle. The one in the desert is outside Alcarid Palace. The one in Morytania is in the center of Canifis. The one in the wilderness is at Ferox Enclave. The one in Asgarnia is in Falador. The one in Karamja is sort of on the beach in front of like the building where you do like the Heroes Quest stuff. Like it's out there on the beach, just like near the Player and House portal at Brimhaven. The one in Fremennik is right in the center of Relica, in front of the Long Hall. The one in Kandarin is just slightly to the east of the Ardy markets. We didn't want to have a bunch of people teleporting in, and we haven't really shared this too much, but we've got these cool little pieces of scenery that sort of mark it where you teleport in, and we didn't want to slap like a big piece of scenery in the middle of Ardy Market where there's people doing stuff, so it's slightly to the east of there. And then lastly, in Taranwin takes you just outside just to the south of the Tower of Voices, kind of where the Eternal Teleport Crystal takes you in Prith. So I think a lot of those are fairly predictable teleport locations for the areas. Maybe Karamja's a bit weird because it's out on the beach, but yeah. So people can hopefully use that to strategize, and jumping between tasks in Misthalin and Karamja, I'm sure, will be I think a lot of people will do in the early game. Cool. What about yourself, Cold One? Did you have any questions, or?
Just one. For the free teleports, you get to jump between regions. I'm assuming it's the same as a home teleport. You sit down, draw a circle, and it takes a couple of seconds to wind up.
Yep, it's the exact same teleport being used.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, we've actually we did exactly the same as we did for Twisted League in that we replaced the home teleport animation with the one that's a reward. So you'll draw the compass on the ground and then swirl up into a dust storm, and that overwrites both the area to area teleports and the home teleports. Just I guess it's kind of like free advertising for a cool reward if people wanted to try before they buy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm trying to think of questions that I can ask that aren't just straight up leaks.
I know, it's because you probably want to ask, like, what's this relic do or something like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, Morytania. So, Aberrant Spectres are not on that task list. Is there a reason for a Slayer task?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was looking at it, we kind of wanted every area to have 6 Slayer creatures on the list so that one area wasn't shifting the initial weighting too much. In fact, I think as far as weighting goes, it's something off the top of my head like 2 tasks are weighted 4, 2 are weighted 5, and 2 are weighted 6. With as whatever you imagine to be the undesirable things on the list. Like an example off the top of my head, be like Mithril Dragon for Kandarin is probably lower weighted than Kraken, right? For example. So the intention was to not just make Morytania have a significantly better Slayer list just by number of good tasks, because the base list is kind of okay. It's fairly like it's mediocre to okay, right? Whereas the other areas, the ones you're going to want to do more. And when it came to the ones in Morytania, if I actually look up and see which ones they are, I think it was just out of the 6, I felt like they were probably the better spread of things to do. Banshees for low levels that get there quicker, Cave Horrors for the Black Mask, very thematic, and kind of some of it's to remind people these creatures exist as part of that area for a perk. And then out of Vampires, just for the whole like blood shards and stuff like that, right? In Darkmare, Necreals, Gargoyles, and Bloodveld. It's kind of as well, like I felt like if I gave Aberrant Spectres, you'd have like 4 good things instead of 3 good things on the list. If that makes sense. And it was just trying to get that balance right. And I felt like you want Gargoyles for the boss. You want Bloodvelds probably because they're generally a good Slayer creature, low defense, and Necreals. I suppose that could be Abyssal Demons in hindsight. It's maybe toss a coin between the two. I don't really have a strong reason for wanting Necreals, but I think the thing is there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's kind of just whatever I decided at the time, if that makes sense. But Morytania is very loaded on other Slayer creatures like Abyssal Demons, Spectres, could have been on there. Even like Crawling Hands in the Slayer Tower, right? Could have been a good low-level alternative to Banshees. Cool. We do have I've sent the description to someone to get it up for the relic, so we'll go over that towards the end or when that's ready. But I don't think you guys have any more questions.
Which ones do you guys want to see Synq or Cold out of the tier 5s?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I feel like the third one obviously has to do with something with XP. So either the first or second one, but not the third one.
I'd say the first one, because looking at it, I've got no clue what it does.
Yeah, I think the first one's the one I'm the most curious about, just because it just looks like...
If you had to take a guess, what would it be? Each one of you.
So for tier 1? Or for Relic 1, you mean? Of that one?
Yeah, sure.
I have a feeling it's either you never use secondaries, so you can use them but they don't get used, or like when you make a potion you get double the potions or something, or make some kind of like bank skill thing. You make like double of them.
And Synq?
Cool.
So what tiers exactly, like tools or what was it?
This was the tier 5 was a skilling tier, and there was one that looked
Skilling
like a potion.
tier.
There was one
Yeah.
that looked like a collection of tools, and there was one that looked like scales.
Okay. Honestly, it's kind of hard to say. I feel like Zulu had a good idea, but then again, we're thinking that these relics are really powerful. I wouldn't say it would just make it into a 4-dose. Maybe just what he said, double potions possibly. I honestly don't know what it could do.
You're writing down all the wrong ideas for next league, right, Flippy?
Definitely, yeah.
That's what I've been doing in all the streams that people have been guessing, writing down ideas for next one. What about you, Cold One? Did you have a preference for, or do you have any guesses to what they could be?
Just the first relic choice, or 2 or 3?
For any of them, for the ones that we're picking between.
Yeah, tier 5, choice 1, not a clue in the world. The second one, something that I was thinking towards was any skilling gathering activity. There's listed in there the harpoon, the pickaxe, and the axe. I believe you'd just be able to gather a resource within 2 seconds, kind of like 3-tick fishing, but it could apply to any source of thing. So redwood you could get in 2 seconds, a shark you could get in 2 seconds by harvesting it through normal means. And I think the most accepted theory for the third one would be a balance. So any experience you get, a percentage of that isn't taken off, but it's just added to your lowest skill.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
I
a
agree with
common
that.
one I've seen.
That was a common one for 3. But 3 did win the poll. I think out of any of the relics we could have shown, it's the least exciting piece of text. But it's deceptively...
Yes.
It's deceptively powerful, and it does change the way that you play the game.
This is ironic, very ironic. Without spoiling anything here, me and this has been a subject that's come up like a lot when me and Husky designed the relics. Where this relic is probably the least like flashy instant fun relic, but one of the relics where it changes the way you play the most, probably. Yeah, I'd say.
For skilling,
yeah.
at least.
Yes, for skilling, obviously.
Cool. So the winner of this relic, if we can move over to it, was the scales. This relic is called Equilibrium, so hence the scale. Each time you gain XP, you gain additional XP equal to 10% of your total level, and additional XP given by this relic is not multiplied by the multiplier. So if you're 2k total level, everything you do gets 200 XP, which sounds really boring on paper. But the way it ends up working, so if you're on control, that would be 200 to every style. Or like with Production Master, because everything is processed instantly, that would be like 200 XP on everything in your inventory. So every inventory of processed things is getting an extra 5k XP. And the way that it's really interesting in the way it trains how you skill is that you'll very much favor things that are quick but lower XP, as opposed to doing things which are higher XP, right? So you can imagine just cleaning herbs with this, for example, right? Or there's so many weird applications we considered. Every essence that turns into runes gets hit by that XP, right? So that would be like an extra 5k on top of whatever you're... So it'd be like, if you were getting a 200 XP, it's multiplied by 16 times, so it's 3,200, and then this adds an extra 5k on top of it.
Yeah, and so the reason for the name and the icon is like it's so hard to guess, but it's like with this relic you'd like to probably keep your total level, sort of even, all of your skills at least, so that you end up with a really high total level, because that's really going to impact the way you play. So even if you have like a 1700 total level when fletching, when making like broad bolts, that's going to be pretty insane XP. But obviously it's limited to certain skills where you can really sort of abuse the relic.
So I have one question, because I'm already thinking about this. So for something like rune crafting, is it per essence?
Yes. So it's sort of hard to understand, maybe, without looking at how things are coded. But every single time the game says give XP, it triggers. So in the case of rune crafting, it goes through all the runes and gives XP for each one. It gets quite out of control, which is why, like, when Endless Harvest triggers its second one, it runs that code twice, right? It says give XP for the first one. Did I give a second one? Give XP. So you end up getting double dip on this with Endless Harvest as well. So it has quite good synergy with 2 of the tier 1 relics, if you think about it, right?
Does it also go per, like, if you make 10 broad bolts, is it 10 times, or is it 1 because you're making 1 action of 10 bolts?
It's 1 per set of 10, essentially, right?
1 per action.
But I think that's going to be the fun, right? Players are going to be looking and seeing, what does this work on, what does it not? This was the relic in playtesting that we nerfed down to 6% before realizing it just, even if it's strong, it sounds underwhelming at 6.
Yeah, I also tried like the most abusable ways I could think of to use this relic. So I mean, for some skills like fishing, for example, you're not really gonna get like a lot out of this relic. It's gonna be some nice, maybe like 10-15% bonus XP on top of your normal XP. Because remember, like normally you're on the last relic, you'll be sitting on 16 times XP. So that 200, bonus XP that will be dropping each action isn't all that much in perspective, but yeah.
I just saw someone in the chat mention barb fishing, and yes, that will be extra on every single portion of that XP, right?
Yeah.
One more question I have. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, so that could like actually be a legitimate agility training method, like competitive,
for sure,
right?
Another question I had was, with this relic being released, do you think that people will choose potentially the other 2 in tier 5?
Yes, I think so, depending on player type.
I think perception of strength is really interesting, and all I'll say is I would advise people to look at what the other tier 5 relics are, because tier 1 and tier 5 both being skilling, some of them combo better than others. And I think if this one combos with any of them better, it combos better with Production Master, just because it allows you to trigger its effect more times per cycle, if that makes sense, right? Because it's withdraw out your bank. It doesn't matter what you're making. It could be you've got like 10,000 molten glass, right? And easy to get resource that you're just going through as quickly as you can with Production Master, right? So I think that there's definitely going to be synergies between relics, and that's completely intentional, right?
Wow, that's insane. I have to do so much math now.
Yeah, so what Husky said before about rune crafting, this one going through each thing in your inventory, the same exact logic applies to Production Master. So I've seen a lot of discussion around tier 1 relics. I prefer the 3rd relic myself, but Skilling Prodigy, but a lot of people have been, like kind of trash talking Production Master, and we've just been sitting here holding, on this sort of information, because it really does change the way you view tier 1 relic strength, even this one relic, because this works super well with Production Master.
It'll work with a bunch of other things as well, right? You want to thieve something you're not going to fail. Like, you already kind of want to do that, but that could be really quick, right? Like, I think, I might look it up as well, what Party Knights give in the main game, right? Something like 80-ish? I can't remember. But regardless, you can just, it's 84 XP. So this is already just 200 on any NPC that you're pickpocketing successfully, right? then multipliers on the original amount, not on the bonus amount, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think this is the relic that I said to Flippy is the scariest because it's probably got so many unknown applications that we just haven't considered, right?
Yeah.
And
Both the scary and fun part about leagues, I'd say.
it doesn't matter because it's a temporary game mode, right? So even if like this relic makes maxing ridiculously easy, that's okay because you picked a relic to get that ability and it's a 2-month temporary game mode, right? So, cool. Well, that's that sneak peek relic. Have we got any chat questions to go through? I think I see a bunch of them. I'll just probably pitch up most of these to yourself, Philip, Flippy, and we'll go from there. So, from Biggie Boy, does the +12 relic boost for Slayer tasks such as work for Slayer tasks such as Kraken and Smoke Devils?
Well, so you can't boost to get a stronger task. You need the correct level to obtain that task. You can, however, kill creatures that doesn't require the task with this boost. So you could kill abyssal demons at what, like 70?
It is the number.
So yes, the number, the joy number. Thanks. You could kill abyssal demons much earlier, for example, but something like Kraken, you would actually need to get the correct base level to obtain the task.
Cool. From DB Doe, there'll be no way to complete Song of the Elves in the league, right?
Song of the Elves.
Yeah.
Well, you could pick Tyranwen, I guess.
Yeah, it's impossible to do it without picking Tyranwen, and Tyranwen auto-completes it. So that's how you gain access to Priv. I see this one a lot, but do you think people could actually start to learn Tob this league from Quartzum? And I think it's the same. I think the mechanics are just as difficult. You're still going to have to learn to dodge the hands at bloat and dodge and keep around the pillar, and you're still going to have to learn to deal with the red spawns at Nilo and all of Verzik's phase mechanics. It's just going to be different. And
I think this is a good opportunity to kind of try and play around with it. I wouldn't say you can seriously learn something like Inferno or DOB this league, but it could be a nice way of just, if you've never touched the content before, to get kind of familiar with it.
Cool. If you guys have any other questions at any point, feel free to jump in, right? Because we invited you guys here obviously to try talk about strategies and stuff, and I think a lot of these chat questions are probably I've probably answered them before in an FAQ somewhere. But if you guys don't have any pressing questions, I'm more than happy to go through them, right?
I've got one that T-Toz asked a bit earlier. It has to do with the Gauntlet. So you mentioned not too long ago that you can technically do Volcano by having baseline 1 stats for mining, smithing, and whatnot. But can you craft the things required for Gauntlet, such as your armor, without the necessary crafting or smithing levels to do the quest?
Yeah, this is something we actually looked at and had a discussion about recently. There are no actual skill checks in Gauntlet or Volcano. It's just the required completion of Song of the Elves. There are skill checks on things like the Divine Potions and the Agility course and stuff, so you're not going to be able to do those. But yeah, you'll be able to do Volcano from level 1 in mining, smithing, and rune crafting, which opens up some interesting training methods. But I was trying around with it, and I think I had a 3 max hit with level 5 runecraft and level 15 smithing or whatever I had when I went there at the time. So you might want to train your stats a bit before doing Volcano, or have a large group of people doing it. But yeah, you can absolutely do the Gauntlet. It's just I think the barrier for the Gauntlet is going to be, can you kill the Hunlith, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess.
Which, if you can get access to that early, that's a pretty good early game drop table from the Gauntlet, with a lot of alks, runes, and arrows, and a lot of stuff that will help your early to mid game.
It seems really nice, but I feel like it'd be more appealing depending on the relics, because I feel like I have to stick with Kandrin and Morytania and possibly Asgardia for Piety. It really depends. If the relics are really as powerful as they are, I might give up Asgardia for something else like Tyranwen.
Yeah, I think it's I think if I could give any advice to anyone, it's have a look at the relics and stuff and decide what you want to pick, because you've experienced the rest of the game anyway, but you'll never get a chance to experience relics again. So pick your relics probably first, and then pick the areas that complement them, and also pick based on content that you like doing. My area selection loosely is Taranwin, Mori, and Fremeric, probably in that order, because to be honest, that's just the content I really like doing, right? And it will complement my relics in a way, and I strongly advise people to do that, because if you're going to stick it out for 2 months or even 1 month, you don't want to be stuck doing content that you're not going to enjoy, right? And some people who like more skilling activities are going to look for things that open up more skilling methods. People who like even questing and are going to get excited seeing those huge XP drops from questing, which will be multiplied, then pick areas with more quests. And I think, as you guys pointed out, like a lot of you guys are in the Kandra and Asgarnia side, which makes sense because that's about 90% of the members' content in our game, right, is covered between those two areas. So there's a lot of synergy in quests and unlocks tied between those, which definitely makes it more interesting. And there's going to be other synergies with areas. Sure, on you go.
I just forgot it. Give me a second. I literally just forgot. Ignore me. Take a chat question. I literally forgot when I started. Yeah, just take a chat question while I think.
Cool. What are your opinions on Crystal Implings? It will be a lottery to find them at the current rate. Is this being looked at? There's nothing we've done for Crystal Implings yet. To be honest, that kind of happened in Twisted League as well with the Dragon Imps. It was a case of it rewarded the people who rushed to like 83 Hunter or maybe even 93 Hunter to catch barehanded. So I think that's part of the strategy, is getting there first. Did you remember your question? I saw you had nodded your head.
Yes, I did. This may be a dumb question, but for the God Wars instance, I have a feeling that relics will make it pretty strong and easy to kill the God Wars bosses, which means that the 90-second respawn might be a bit too long. If we hop worlds, will we be kicked out of the entire God Wars instance, or will we still be in that room?
Yeah, so if you exit the instance, you'll be kicked out of the instance, and I believe the 90-second timer is still there.
But logging out, does that exit you?
Yes, logging out won't put you back in the instance that you were in, so you'll be kicked out. To be honest, I'm just going to make a note of that. Maybe that's something that could be looked at. Maybe a 45-second respawn or a 60-second respawn would be better for the relics. But that was actually one of the big reasons I think Flippy and I both pushed to see if instances could be on the table, right? Because not only being able to kill them faster, but just being able to kill them, like, it's kind of killing them faster, but the trips would be really long with relics, potentially, right? And you could absolutely see people holding down worlds for a long time. So even if we were expecting players to queue for the content, and people probably would have done that, minus a few people who just, ragged to be that guy, it just wouldn't be a fun experience to wait like 20 minutes or 30 minutes for one person to finish in the room, right? So I'm really glad we've got the instances. I think it's going to make Asgarnia a much nicer pick instead of just a bunch of frustration for not being able to kill the God Wars boss you want to kill.
How early do you think it'll be before someone like Woox to complete the Inferno? Because he wants to do about like day 3 from what he's saying, and it was kind of wild to hear. Day 3, yeah, he said it on stream, and that was kind of wild to hear.
If you asked me before I saw his no pillar run, I probably would have said really hard, but I think he's just going to go no pillar with Rune Crossbow.
Yeah.
And I think that it's Woox. I'm not even going to say that's impossible, right? You never doubt the man.
He'll just take it as a challenge. You say day 4, he'll do it on day 3 or day 2.
It's interesting because I would assume when he sees the relics, he's probably gonna wait for tier 6, maybe. Do you agree, Husky? Or you think he's gonna rush it with tier 3 ones?
I think he'll be doing it with tier 3, if I'm being honest. I think the first Infernal Cape will probably be done with tier 3 and not tier 6, because tier 6...
Oh yeah, the first one, for sure.
Because the way we looked at tier 6, all the relics are slightly more points to get than Twisted League, but you get points a lot faster in this league, generally, with how many more tasks we've implemented. So we don't know if it's going to be quicker or slower. But tier 6 is essentially, if it was in Twisted League, I would have put it 10,000 points, right? And I think that tier 5 already took was it 3 or 4 days? So if that's the case, tier 6 might take closer to a week. It should be within the first week. I don't think waiting for that for the world, like the first Infernal Cape of the League, is going to be a good strategy.
I think if Woox or whoever might beat him, I said the words. I think if they didn't go for Infernal Cape, I think it would be done. Tier 6 would be done probably day 5, or sorry, day 6 or 7 probably. Maybe day 5 to 6. If you're going for Infernal Cape, you're probably skipping tier 6, as you said, probably going for tier 3, and I would guess day 4. I don't think anyone will get it day 3.
If he said he's doing it day 3, you're going to doubt him?
Wow.
Yeah, I doubt him.
He
It's
can do
okay,
it
I'm
now,
Swedish,
just
I'm
to
Swedish,
spite
it's
you.
fine. I get a free card.
You're gonna get clipped right now, man. I'm telling you.
That's okay. I think he'll do it on day 2. Now, but yeah, I think it's super exciting to see what's going to happen with these with the strategies. Like playtesting the last week or so, I've already learned things that I didn't even know were a thing, and I think that's one of the exciting things as a developer is that we're going to look back on this in hindsight and say, oh, absolutely, like Production Master was the best relic, or of course it was Skilling Prodigy. Why would you doubt it? Because in hindsight, everyone knows. I think one of the things that surprised me was everyone picked Eye of the Artisan in Twisted League because they thought it was best to buff all their production skills, but it turned out Way of the Warrior was just better if you wanted to go for sheer points because we had the tasks for like 50 mil, 100 mil, 200 mil combats, and you could do those more reasonably. We don't have those tasks anymore. We cap them at 25 mil, so that obviously won't be a thing, but I think it's super interesting to see in hindsight how this plays out. And there absolutely could be busted combinations or busted relics that do things we never thought they would do, right? And that's just fun.
For sure.
Somebody was asking me about revs. So apparently with the new change, the drop table was also changed and kind of nerfed. Like is it still going to be like nerfed? Because that's a big reason a lot of people were picking Wildy, I think, was for revs.
It's something that we considered. I put out a tweet about this earlier today. We've known like maybe a few weeks, I can't remember the exact timeline, but we were speaking with a team who were doing those changes and saying, hey, what are you guys going to change? Because it impacts the league, obviously, right? And we want to make sure that if we need to make any changes, we can. And what we decided to do for that was we looked at the tasks assigned to the wilderness and made adjustments to either difficulty tier, adding more tasks, that sort of thing to help it. But we don't really have the capacity to run like an old Rev Caves and a new Rev Caves easily for the league. So we just figured this would be the easiest thing. And I know that the team who were working on that are taking on feedback and reviewing it. So if they, for example, buff how easy it is to get wildy weapons or something, that will also come through to the league. So I think we are kind of in a stage of unknown because we don't know what feedback they're going to action and what they're going to do, but we're just going to have to kind of take it as comes. One thing we did say, though, is they're probably not going to nerf it now based on the feedback, but we were in a state of unknown 2-3 weeks ago, and we said if they had nerfed the Rev loot table after the league had been out, we would have kept the old table, because what we don't want is something being more lucrative early on and people, were the early birds and got that. We'd be okay with it getting a buff later and suddenly everyone getting access to that at the same time, right?
I feel like leagues is generally like something that should always, like the main game should always be reflected onto leagues kind of, so it should be a separate version of what's going on in the main game, so any sort of change that happens in the main game should probably always affect leagues as well. Now, there are edge cases where something gets tweaked drastically, like super close into release or during the course of the league, and I think we just have to take like separate decisions regarding those things then. We said it was fine this time because it happened a week before the entire launch, but obviously we're gonna keep monitoring it, and I'd be happy to see a buff personally, and to include that. If there's like super drastic changes around the very first day of the league, we might want to look at how we do that, because we don't want someone picking Wilderness and then changing their mind 3 days later because of a change to the content.
Yeah.
So
it's a really hard thing to swallow. On you
go. So any updates that happen in the main game, let's say for example, chat's gonna hate this, the fishing boss, if it gets added to the game 2 weeks into the league, will that also be added to the league? Or will the server just kind of stay stagnant based on its release date?
Sure. So it's kind of hard to I guess I can't explain it, but like the main game and League Worlds run the exact same code, right? The only difference is that we have a lot of checks in to say when you try and enter Nightmare Zone, before it does any of the code it needs to let you go in, we say if you're on a League World, maybe just put a message out saying this isn't available, and then start executing the code, right? So in the case of the fishing skill boss, we would more than likely not include it because it was added post-league, and we would have said, I don't know, you speak to an NPC that starts the fight, he would just say, sorry, this fishing skill boss is not available on League Worlds, right? But it's hard for us to do things of that scale to everything because there's going to be potentially polls and potentially things added, and we're just going to have to review it on a case-by-case basis, right? If it's fairly harmless, we'll probably leave it. And if it would be pretty meta changing late into the league, then we'll take steps. I know for sure that everything in Pulse 73, we have a disclaimer, I think, on one of the interfaces that anything that is set to come from passing that poll will come in over the following week. So that'll include, like, I think there were changes to the Nightmare which haven't been implemented yet, right? So you'll know picking Mori, okay, I might not have those changes to the Nightmare yet, but I will have them at some point, right?
Yeah, stuff like quality of life stuff is generally just just accepted and we just implement it. But then of course for more game changing and meta changing content changes like the fishing skill box, it'll be weird to release that and suddenly the whole power level of an area shifts. So that's something we always look at carefully.
Okay, fair enough.
I had another question. This is probably another silly one, but just for starting meta, do we start with the items you get off Tutorial Island and that 25 GP in the bank?
Yes.
Or do we start with an empty inventory? Oh, sorry.
No, you'll get.
Yeah, go ahead.
You get everything. You get everything. You get your 25 GP in the bank. You also get a Draman staff added to your inventory. And I think, if you, depending on how you place another league, you could also get other rewards. Like if you finished, I can't remember the exact cutoffs, but it's something like bronze, iron, steel. Maybe you get the tier 1 Relic Hunter Fashionscape. It's like just the cosmetic outfit that's in the main game, right?
Yeah.
And then I think it's, what is it? Is it Mithril and Addy
Mithril
get
Addy.
tier 2?
And then Rune and Dragon, I think, tier 3.
And then Rune and Dragon get tier 3. So it's just purely cosmetic. This is instead of us giving armor that had bonuses that people gave us feedback they weren't all that for. So you'll just get to maybe flex your position on the league a bit harder. And I think we're also giving out the blueprints, the twisted blueprints for your POH for people who were Mithril and higher, and twisted horns for people who were Rune and higher, which are, it's kind of just like a nice extra. Obviously you can't use the horns if you don't unlock Morytania and end up getting a Slayer Helm, right? But it's just that you'll get all that stuff added to your inventory. But yet, to answer your initial question, yes, you'll still get the initial thing. So if you're planning on, the bucket that you get having a use, you'll still have that bucket. So
I think that's like a nice flex as a memory. Like I'd like to do that, going forward in the next league. Maybe have some Trailblazer rewards to unlock right on the start. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think
the other
that
stuff,
we want.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think we want to relook at how we handle league to league rewards. Better ways we can carry over your progress league to league, and without a statistical advantage, even if it's a minor one. But we don't know what that looks like yet, and we'll probably come back with a proposal for a third league, assuming we did one for the fourth league, as opposed to anything from Trailblazer. It's just something we're looking at.
Do you spawn in with your pets? Oh, sorry. But do you spawn in with your pets from the last league, or do you claim them from the league tutor?
You claim them from the tutor, and it's free, right?
Okay.
Is that right, Flippy?
I think so. I have to double check. That was a long time since we implemented that. I think that's how it works, just through the tutor.
Yeah.
We've got one last question. The Dreaming Staff, let's say you just somehow lose it, you drop it, you forget about it. Can you reclaim it from the tutor as well? Or do you have to get it the vanilla way?
No, you can do
That's-
that with any sort of items that we give to you automatically or that is unlocked through relics. You can just, go to the League tutor and ask, give me my items back, please.
So you can get like unlimited bronze axes.
No, it's just the things that the additional things, not the starting inventory things. So if you get like the tier 1 Twisted Relic Hunter based on your previous placement and you lost it, you could get another set. And we've made sure that like none of this stuff's alchable, right? We don't want to suddenly give you a really high alchemy shop price for free. And like things like I think Fremenic gives you ice gloves. So once you unlock Fremenic, you'll be able to reclaim those from him as well, right? So yeah, and nice mini leak there, Flippy.
I'm not the only one who heard that then.
Wait,
did
what?
you mean to say relics, or did you mean to say regions?
Relics.
When you said you meant to say relics. Oh. Oh.
But that was no real leak, right?
That's
Wait,
a big leak, I
It's
think.
kind of a leak.
Because I know, like,
it's a bit of a leak for
Asgarnia-
tier 4.
So, like, for Asgarnia, for
Wait.
example, we can buy the elemental shield from a shop, right? We don't get given that.
It's
if I recall
automatically
correctly.
added. It's automatically added to the League Slayer store, so you don't get given it for
Okay.
free, but you could just buy it from the Slayer Minister because.
Right, yeah, I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
So stuff like that you buy, but stuff from relics.
Come on, how was that a leak? It's like we could have said for Equilibrium, you get an item, you get a crown, and when you wear it, you get, 10% bonus XP from your total level. It's no big deal.
Confirm.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting discussion point. Yes, some of the relics have items, and one of the things this allows us to do, which we're quite excited about, is we get to visually show. You can visually show off your relic selections a little bit more, right? Potentially, like some of them are equipable. Some of them have like animations with them and stuff. So you look at that guy and you'll be like, oh, he's got X relic, and that's a pretty cool thing. Because we saw that a lot with like Twisted League and the Infinite Run people. People would just keep running around people to prove that they could waste energy, and we thought that was quite a cool thing to kind of show and represent your relic, right?
Yeah.
So these
I
are
think
just
I've been-
strictly Fashionscape?
No, the relic effects are mostly tied to them, right?
Okay.
To an item.
So if for example, which I don't know if it's true, if there's a tier 6 relic that you could somehow get barrage without unlocking desert, and this is an item like a Kodai wand, would that fit in?
Where's my lawyer when I need it?
He's fishing.
I'm just asking, maybe I'll get something.
No, I'm not going to answer those questions. It's difficult without talking about relic effects, but I think it'll be interesting to see when people see them in game. Hopefully, it's been a correct choice. I know that Mod West pushed for a lot of the visual relics, and I think it's been a correct design choice. And I think it's
This is super good. I think I've been bugging everyone in the office talking about, like building a League's universe, trying to make all the content in there feel more united and together as one big piece of content rather than, and also something that is, somewhat separate from the main game, even though it works the exact same way as the main game. So I think we've come a long way in like giving a few items for some of the relics. Super nice work from Mod West. We put these statues or landmarks that you talked about previously in each one of the regions, and I think we've also shown some footage of the big boulders that separates the regions. It feels a bit more united and like its own piece of content where you can look at a streamer playing leagues and you can see that they're playing leagues, which is important. So I think we're going somewhere to like a good place with that.
Cool. We didn't get through a lot of the chat questions, and I'm not gonna take like 10 minutes of everyone's time to speed run them this time round. Just know that like a lot of the information you guys are asking is on the League's interface. We're trying our best to keep that as up to date as possible going forward as we make changes. One of the ones I did want to say is the Rev Caves, for example, won't have a 100k fee on it in League Worlds. It's just not required there because everyone's an Iron Man, right? So that is now on the interface. So you'll find all the information there, and I wish everyone luck because this is the last live stream before Leagues, and I'm both excited and nervous for what's going to happen, and I'm absolutely going to be dipping in all of your streams at some point and asking how things are getting on, and probably stressing while doing so, right? Because any big content release is always stressful, but fun at the same time. Recapping our announcements, though. In the chat, you can type !Halloween. Our newest update is now live, featuring this year's Halloween event, where you can head on over to our friend Rick in the woods near Draenor Village to start this spooky side story. Use !Halloween to read all about the event and any more changes that happened in yesterday's update. !Twisted. We've also just released our newest blog, which tells you about a new quest, which will be the first in a series of short standalone quests about the regions of Korend and Kebos. Use !Twisted to find out more. !Prime. Our newest Prime Gaming collaboration is here with an exclusive Last Man Standing event in which 24 of the toughest players will be battling for glory. Try and win as many games of LMS before November 10th to have a chance of competing in the grand finale. Use !Prime to get more information. And !Leagues. As I just said, it's coming next week. If you want to get an updated piece of information about all the areas, you can type that, look at the blog. It gives you a detailed rundown of what's in each of the areas, so you can get planning accordingly. And last but certainly not least, we have our 3 content creators here. Going through you all, you can shout out if you want, or where people can find you, if you've got any last closing words, that sort of thing. Starting with a cold one.
Twitch.tv/thatname, a cold one, and the @handle is my Twitter handle if you want to give that a follow. Post like maybe once every week, once every 2 weeks, but it's there.
Twitch.tv/Synq, that's SYNQ, not every other way that everyone spells it. I do tons of solo raids. I usually help a ton of people as well, so if you guys are trying to learn solo raids, you guys can always ask me. I've done 4,000 of them, and as always, without the omelet.
Twitch.tv/Zulu, also Zulu only on Twitter and YouTube. I just play the game. I don't know. A lot of stuff.
Awesome. Well, it's been great having you guys on here. Hopefully we can do some more stuff in the future with getting content creators on Q&A, Modcast, whatever we're calling them now. So